Hello and welcome to this tutorial to help you learn about creating Workbooks reports. In this session I'm going to talk about planning your report. And I know that you're going to be keen to get started, but you'll find that building your reports becomes much easier if you've invested some time in thinking about what you need before starting, especially if you're new to Workbooks reports. There's an enormous variety of reports that can be created within Workbooks depending on what information is important to your business. The chances are that you'll want to supplement reports with charts and then put a selection of both the reports and the charts onto different dashboards so that they're readily available to your colleagues and tell a story of what's going on in the company. You may have heard the expression measure twice and cut once, and with reporting the same is true. Taking a few minutes to plan your report will save you time in the long run and will give you better, more accurate reports. I've broken planning down into 6 areas that you should think about. Firstly, is the right data available? It might sound obvious, but if you're not tracking the information in Workbooks, it'll be impossible to report on it. For instance, if you want to report on how much you've invoiced your customers, but you only track orders in the system, will that give you the information that you need? It might, but it might not. Also, if you're using a system where you've only got access to a subset of the data, but you want to report on all of it, you might need to get a colleague with a different set of permissions to build the report instead. Do you know where the data is held? For example, if someone asks you to report on which industry sector someone works in, do you know where the data about industry is held? Is it on a person record or maybe an organisation record? Knowing where the data is held is really important because it influences what record type you start with when building your report. Secondly, your audience. Knowing your audience is important because it can make a difference to how you choose to display your data. If you're building something for a colleague who likes to see a lot of detail, it might be better to present a list of data that isn't summarised. But for someone who likes to see a big picture, a summary or a chart might be much better. I've already talked about whether or not the data is available, but you really need to factor in whether or not the quality is good enough in order to tell a true story of what's going on. For example, if I wanted to build a report on opportunities and my data set looks something like this, I'm going to have a problem. And this is an exaggerated example, but you can see that some opportunities don't have a prospective customer name, even though apparently one of them up here is closed and won. A couple of them haven't even been given a stage. Lots of them don't have a type, and importantly the value column shows deals in different currencies, which is okay unless you want to add all of them up, because you can't do that. Another thing to consider when planning your reports is the frequency with which the data is required. Workbooks reports are dynamic, by which I mean that every time you open one it'll show you the up-to-date information. However, are people going to open those reports every day? Would it be better to group them on a dashboard and get the users to pin the dashboard to their desktop? Alternatively, you can email reports and charts out on a schedule, and there'd be no point in sending out a report on your monthly sales at 6 AM on the last day of the month, when sales might still be closing deals. Far better to send a report looking at last month's sales at 6 AM on the first day of the following month. So think about the frequency and the impact of that. What about security? I touched on security earlier, but if you're using a database where you're restricted to what records different users can see, it's important to take this into consideration when building and sharing reports with them. I've just mentioned about being able to email reports and charts out, so again, consider any security or confidentiality implications around that. You should also think about the time span for your reports. And what I mean by this is, do you want to give your report defined dates? For example, if you wanted to see things for April, do you want them to be on or after the 1st of April and on and before the 30th of April? Or would it actually be better to set what we would describe as a rolling date format that simply looks at this month or this year and so on? Both are equally valid, it just depends what you want in your output. With all these things in place, as well as the knowledge about how to build reports, of course, you should be ready to start. Good luck with your report planning, and do watch our other reporting videos to help you get the best results you can. You can also find help on our knowledge base pages on workbooks.com/help/reporting.